Well, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. Today is July 15th, 2026, and I am on the chart of ZCash, ticker symbol ZCASH, specifically on the Coinbase chart. And before we get started, I am an amateur investor and trader. I have a day job that does not involve finance, therefore, I probably do not have the nuance of a professional trader. My goal on this channel is to simply go over the charts as I am a hobbyist. Like I mentioned, I do trade and just give my thoughts on a particular asset. If that helps you make a decision or get a second opinion or do your own research, that's great. That's all I'm trying to accomplish, nothing else. So, last time we talked about Zcash was June 6th. And I mentioned that Zcash uh, had some bearish divergence in the RSI, relative strength index. Okay, as you can tell, what I mean by bearish divergence is you saw Zcash come up here and hit this level here of about somewhere in the 700 range, and then it retraced, and then it came back and hit this level again. But notice where the relative strength index point was. It was here. So we call this bearish divergence. A lot of times, bearish divergence, when it's seen, it doesn't mean that the particular stock crashes. However, it's seen a lot in the stock market. Sometimes it can take years to play out. In crypto, I've mostly seen it take place over months. For example, Bitcoin, pretty much the last two bull runs, has had bearish divergence pretty about at least midterm on in its bull run. And as you can see, that's one of the reasons why it has these really large pullbacks is because of the bearish divergence. So it is seen on it is seen all the time. If you look also at the money flow index, which measures overbought, oversold, it's doing the same thing. It has bearish divergence as well. So we're keeping an eye on that. I'm not personally invested in Zcash, so just keep that in mind. I'm more interested in this coin as to maybe get invested to it in the future, get into it at a better price point. But what I wanted to talk about today is it appears that Zcash is going to make another run to try to get over this particular top here. And I don't know why I'm on 8, should be on logarithmic. Okay, so let's go over here and just take a look at this a little bit more cleaner. On this particular chart, I am on the 2-week chart of the Coinbase, and this means that each candle represents 2 weeks of price action. And as I mentioned before, we came down and we kind of have a support zone here. Just draw it right there. It wicked below it, but pretty much this is a support zone now. And so we have to look at that in the future. It also was resistance temporarily, so it's not I would call like a major support and resistance zone, but it definitely happened and it's definitely there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is the question is can it get over this particular hump? Well, from a moving average perspective, it is just crossed above the 8, and from the 20 on the 2-week average is very close to the 8. And there is no 200, but the 50 is down here. So there is some space between the 50 moving average and the 20, but the 8 and the 20 are close to each other and they're in the formation that you would like to see. You want to see your moving averages angled up. These are shorter term moving averages, so you're hoping that they provide support to your particular price action. So far, that's been the case. Keep in mind that the 20, even though you see that wick kind of going down there, I'm going to just highlight this again. This is more of a zone. Each of these are in the zone. The 20 and the 8 are really close to each other, so you can think of this as one zone. And what's happening is it's providing support to flush this up. Okay, so let me remove that. All right, Now, one very bullish news about Zcash at the moment is we talked about the relative strength index being in bearish divergence. We talked about the money flow index being in bearish divergence, but look at what the stochastic RSI. The stochastic RSI measures momentum, and right now, even though it had a little dip here below the red line is the slow line, and the blue line is the fast line. When you get a cross above the 20 with the blue line on top of the red line, that is extremely bullish. Okay. The other factor about the 2 week moving average is it only typically happens once a year for an asset. And usually that's when you're going to see the most bullish part of the asset go. And if we drop to the monthly here, we never reset below the 20 on the monthly chart. Okay. So this is the monthly chart. And what we would have liked to seen on the monthly chart is it to dip below this 20 and then recross up. So it did not. It did go down fairly close to the 20, but it's not considered, the momentum is not considered a reset until it goes below the 20. That may be a little bearish. And what I mean by that is you may see something like this happen. I'm just going to get my brush out. As you can tell, this blue line is about to cross the red line. So you may see it go down like this. So just be warned. Okay. That does, okay, you want to see it actually get below the 20 to reset. Okay. Now, if we go to the weekly, you get usually these twice a year. And so we got one in last one we actually had for the weekly was March of 2026. And it did not reset either. Only the 2 week is coming up here, and actually it had reset. Okay. What I'm trying to say is I don't know if Zcash has enough strength to get over this particular top trend line. We shall see. We will know probably pretty soon, maybe sometime this month or next month, whether it has the strength to get over this top trend line. If it does get over the top trend line, that would be very bullish, and that would be great news for Zcash holders. I'm just going to get rid of these particular moving averages. And what you could maybe expect to see if that happens is I don't expect Zcash to, for example, go to $1,000. Okay, I don't have a price target. I'm not going to set a price target, but I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of comes up here, dips his toe around it, and I'm not saying it's going to get that high. It could just go to like here, which is be about, because we're at larger scales. I'm probably drawing this too high. Retest it and then break down and then come down to here. Okay. Uh, the reason why I say that is I don't think Zcash has had its bear market yet, but I do think that if this is a continuation of the bull run, I just don't think it has much farther to go. Just be warned. So if you are a investor who bought up here, just be warned. Even when you see this go up here, I would be prepared to sell. Once you start seeing it retracing, I don't think it's going to stop retracing. Okay, just something to keep in mind. That's just my personal opinion. Uh, but so we'll just have to see. But I do think that what is going to happen is Zcash is going to test this line. So if you were a Zcash investor and you hodled and you didn't get out up here, you're going to get a second chance to possibly get out if you want to. Okay. That's up to you. I do admit I think that Zcash has a future. It is a way to have purchases have privacy yet also be public as well. The I don't think the recent news about I'm not going to go into much detail about that, but there was a in June there was some news that came. It was actually probably I think it was June. There was some news in June about an issue with Zcash. Go read up on that. You can make a decision on what you think about that yourself. I'm not going to weigh in on that particular topic. From a charting perspective, what I am trying to say is that uh, I do think that Zcash is probably going to test this upper line. If it rejects from this upper line, in other words, it comes over here, okay, and comes up here, again, I think that would be a good time to take some profits. If you at least take your initial investment out, maybe 20%, because it is going to drop. If it gets rejected from this line, it is going to drop, and it may be ranging. It could. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down here. It may struggle at this support zone, but I think eventually it'll come down there. Okay, so this is just a very short update for Zcash. Just something interesting that I'm seeing in the charts. I guess I do want to show one other thing. Okay, you keep in mind. Let's say that the price comes up here to $700 and rejects, and you're looking to see if it's going to try to make a new or higher high. Okay, I will say this from a Fibonacci standpoint. This is one thing that would be feeding that there could be possible a high high. I didn't mean to take that trend line off. And that is, if you take your Fibonacci tool, and I'm doing this on the 2-week chart, so you look for the fib retracement. You go from the bottom of the move, which was right here, you drag it to the top of the move, right there, and what you are looking for is in this area here. Okay, you want to see it to come back up somewhere in here. Okay, I'm not saying in this golden zone. This golden pocket's your last chance of a possible higher high. What's normally happens with fib retracement, in this case it did it as well, is it's either going to, as it's coming down, it's either going to touch the 50% level or the 618. If it touches below the 618, its chances of getting a higher high are very low. Each level down is a lower chance of a higher high. So we're at the 50, so we're not at the very lowest chance of a higher high, but it very typically, it's actually pretty normal. It's still pretty high that you may get a higher high. So that's why I'm saying you may see Zcash, because of where the fib retracement landed. You may see Zcash come up here and, like I said, wick above this particular maybe even the body close above this particular trend line. Extremely bullish. However, when it does retrace, and it will, that's where you have your line going like this. It did its run, and then now it's going to retrace. Okay, the question with that Fibonacci sequence is, how far does it retrace? So when it does hit its peak, and let's say it does get above this particular resistance zone, watch how far this leg goes down. If it does not, for example, okay, let's just draw it up to here. Oh, this is probably a bad example. If you draw it from, let's say, here, okay, and it gets up to here, just guessing, okay, I mean, I don't know if it's going to do that. Watch where that leg retraces to. If it retraces below this golden pocket area, it's probably not going to make a new all-time high. I mean, it's not going to make when I say an all-time high, what I mean is it's not going to make a higher high, which theoretically would be an all-time high. It's going to start retracing, okay? And what I mean by retracing is going down. So keep a watch for that. That's one thing you can do if I don't cover it at that time. Like I said, I am glancing at this chart every once in a while because I'm not currently invested in it. But it is something I'm looking to invest in the future at some point, that doesn't mean that's going to be this year. So, with that being said, may God bless your day. I do want to say that, you know, I am a Christian and I do believe that a relationship with Jesus Christ is really important in trading. Uh, I know there are going to be many that are going to scoff at that, but please keep in mind that Jesus is real. He died on the cross for our sins. He loves us, and he wants a relationship with us. And that relationship isn't doesn't mean that you lose everything, okay? But there was a story of a man who was very rich, and he said he wanted to follow Jesus. And Jesus asked him to sell all his belongings to the poor and come follow him. Okay. Uh, Here's the thing: Jesus doesn't mind if you have possessions and riches. However, it is hard for a rich man to have a relationship with Jesus Christ because they believe in themselves more than they believe in Jesus. So as you have success in the charts and as you are experiencing, good times in life, remember that your relationship with Jesus is very important. You need to take everything to him and don't count on yourself. Okay? Even though it seems like things are going good right now, or maybe they're going really bad, and you know that you really need Jesus. The thing is that as you start to experience more good times, remember always take your concerns, your your goals, your futures, take it to Jesus. Okay? There are very wealthy believers, okay, who have a great relationship with Jesus Christ. But one thing that they do different than other rich people is they always go back to Jesus, even for new goals and new futures. Jesus doesn't want you to be sad. He wants you to have joy in life. There are times where there's going to be sadness in your life, but, uh, I know that the financial, you know, let's put it this way, inflation's out of control. Everything's expensive. Finances are really rough right now. Okay. As you struggle with finances and everything, like I said, take it to the Lord Jesus Christ and have him, just talk to him about it and start that relationship. With that being said, have a great day.